would you speak into our hearts and our minds? And would we know the true bread that comes from heaven? Amen. Now, I had a real plan for this morning, and the plan was that when you walked in here, you would be hit by the smell of freshly baking bread. What has happened is you haven't been hit by that smell, and now we've just got a very loud noise in the corner, for which I apologise. You know, if you're not trying something, you're never going to fail and you're never going to learn. But anyway, the best laid plans. If you're wondering what that noise is, that's a bread maker churning away. I know it's annoying the heck out of some of you, but just try and focus on me rather than on the noise. Yeah, I do apologise, Carol. Right, let me give you some facts about bread. It takes 9 seconds for a combine harvester to harvest enough wheat to make 70 loaves of bread. February the 23rd is National Banana Bread Day. In 2007, Kansas wheat farmers produced enough wheat to make 36.5 billion loaves of bread, or enough to provide each person on earth with 6 loaves of bread each, and that was just in Kansas. Napoleon gave a common bread its name when he demanded a loaf of dark rye bread for his horse. During the Prussian campaign, he said, "Pain pour Nicole," he ordered, which meant bread for Nicole, his horse. To Germanic ears, the request sounded like pumpernickel, which is the term we use today for this traditional loaf. I'm now going to turn it off because it's annoying me. Carol likes me again, all is good. The fastest bun in the West goes to a team of bakers from Wheat Montana Farms and Bakery, who reclaimed the Guinness World Record in 1995. They harvested milled wheat from the field, then mixed, scaled, shaped, and baked a loaf in exactly 8 minutes, 13 seconds. Legend has it, this is a bizarre one, legend has it that whoever eats the last piece of bread has to kiss the cook. Never heard that one before, but be careful who makes your bread. And in Scandinavia, traditions hold that if a boy and girl eat from the same loaf, they are bound to fall in love. Bizarre, our Scandinavian friends. Let me give you some other facts about bread and hunger. These ones we never like to hear. 4 million children now live in the United Kingdom in food poverty. Out of a population of 66.4 million people, that is. 6% of the UK now live in food poverty. Around the world, 50.5 million children live in food poverty. That's 7.5% of all the world's children. And 815 million of 7.6 billion people around the world live with chronic undernourishment. That's 10.7% of everyone in our world lives with chronic undernourishment. Frightening, isn't it? You read that first fact from Kansas City. In 1 year, producing enough bread that everybody could have 6 loaves, yet 10.7% of the world's population live with chronic undernourishment. I'm going to be honest with you right now. I hear those sorts of statistics, as we all hear from time to time, and we do that, don't we? The internal thing, that's horrendous. And then I don't know about you, I do the two other things that immediately follow. One is I can't obviously do anything about that because that's a massive problem. And then I do the thing of, well, maybe I should just give another tin of beans. And do you know what? That is the greatest thought that you and I can have. Just to give that other tin of beans. What is in front of you here, folks, this morning makes a massive, massive difference. All this food will go to the Manor Food Bank in Staines and will be distributed in food parcels to the more and more people within Spelthorne now struggling with food poverty. The Restore Food Bank in Sunbury does the same for that end of the community. In leafy North Surrey, we're able to have 2 food banks. 2 in Spelthorne. What's going on? What is happening in our world? But yet, a tin of beans makes such a difference. I never want us to hear statistics like that and think I can't do anything about it, because you can. In our own church family, in our own church community, there are families that have needed to access manna in the last year. And oh my goodness, this is a lifeline. This is a life changer. Changes everything. And yet, there is another bread that not only changes a hunger, it changes a life. That gospel reading we've just heard, Jesus describes himself as the bread of life. The bread that will never cause us to be hungry again. We know he's not talking about physical hunger so much as the spiritual hunger and satisfaction of our lives. And it is that deep spiritual satisfaction that enables us to give 1 tin of beans, 2 tins of beans, 3 tins of beans, and so on. There is an amazing person in our church family who regularly leaves a tray, or sometimes 2 or 3 trays, of tins of food on my doorstep for manna. It's one of those moments as a vicar which is quite bizarre, because you hear the front doorbell go and then you race to the front door. Well, you don't race. Well, my children race, but I can get off the sofa and handle. And open the front door and there's no one there. And on the doorstep are these trays, beans, tomatoes, or whatever it is. Our deep down satisfaction of knowing Christ enables us to give. Paul describes our lives as being like a cup. And when we meet Christ, that cup gets filled. Paul says he's given us a good measure, pressed down and running over. The overflow from knowing Christ causes this to happen, and so much more. Folks, if we are today sitting here going, I don't know satisfaction, I don't know deep down how it all works, Jesus is the answer. Jesus is the satisfaction. Jesus is the bread of life. The evangelist J. John once said Jesus described himself as the bread of life so that bakers could get to know Jesus. That's not just Peter and Alice. But Jesus is the one who satisfies. You may well remember the story when Jesus is tempted by the devil in the desert. And Jesus has not eaten anything for 40 days and 40 nights. I mean, I cannot think of anything worse. Not eating for 40 days and 40 nights. I love my food. This would be a nightmare. And the devil comes and tempts him and says, tell those stones down there to become bread. Because he knew Jesus had the power. Just go, oh, I'll have a granary. Oh, a ciabatta. Nice bit of naan. You know, he had that power just to turn stones into bread. And what did he say? He said, no. Man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. Every word. Friends, the Bible is our spiritual food. The Bible is our food that God wants to feed us on day in, day out to keep our satisfaction tank full. And do you know what? Sometimes we read the Bible, and if you're anything like me, you can't actually remember anything that you've just read. But afterwards, something inside you happens. So if you asked me over the last week if I could name all the meals I'd eaten, I couldn't do it. But I'd definitely be able to tell you if I hadn't eaten any meals. I couldn't tell you all the Bible verses I've read over the last week, but I definitely know when I haven't read the Bible. The funny thing is my wife knows as well, because she sees a difference in me. She says, I know when you haven't been spending time in prayer, I know when you haven't been spending time with God, because you get irritable. And you become not a very nice person to be around. Interesting, isn't it? As followers of Jesus, he says, feed on my daily bread. Feed on the word. Get into the Bible. And now it is so easy. I can literally go press on here. And I have daily bread, a verse for today. We've got it in the palm of our hand. Let's not be people who go on spiritual hunger strike. Hebrews chapter 1 says that God sustains everything through his powerful word. Everything is sustained in our lives from his word. And it's his word that causes us to do this. Because as we read and we're filled, we go and we love others and we give to others. Just this week, let's just turn again to the word of God. Read a couple of verses. And ask him again to fill you. If there's dissatisfaction in your life, say, Lord, I'm struggling with anxiety, I'm struggling with guilt, I'm struggling with whatever it may be. Just a very quick Google search can now answer your question. If you're saying, oh, I hate computers, Tim, I'm just technologically illiterate, just ask someone to search it for you. Just put in Bible verses about anxiety, health, family, whatever it is. And that'll be there to fill you again. Let's be people who are filled by the bread of life in order that we might give the bread both of this world and the bread of life to others. Let's bow our heads and let's pray together.